Kou Yamori is the name of the handsome junior 2 student. He is uninterested in romance. However, after he rejected a girl in his class, other girls accused him of being a playboy. From that day forward, he was plagued by insomnia and refused to attend school for fear of encountering such things again. For the first time, Kou Yamori goes out on the street without informing his parents. When he passes by an alcohol vending machine, he decides to buy one secretly out of curiosity. But he is startled when a girl appears out of nowhere. Minors are not permitted to consume alcohol. Kou Yamori quickly lies, claiming that he received the wrong one. The girl stops him as he is about to flee. Nazuna is the name of the girl. She is now enticing Kou Yamori to spend the night with her in her home. It is difficult to refuse such an inviting invitation, so Kou Yamori follows her home. As a result, when Kou Yamori discovers that there is only one bed in the room, Nazuna removes her jacket and bares her sexy body. Kou Yamori begins to suspect that the girl is attempting something shy, so he subconsciously wants to flee, but is stopped once more by the girl. She entices Kou Yamori to spend the night here. Kou Yamori pretends to be asleep and plans to flee late at night because she can no longer escape. Nazuna is now showing her sharp teeth and biting on Kou Yamori's neck. Then Nazuna can't stop herself from exclaiming, "This guy is so delicious." Kou Yamori notices the blood on Nazuna's neck and deduces that he is a vampire. Nazuna makes no denials. Kou Yamori is terrified. He is concerned about becoming a vampire after being bitten by Nazuna. However, Nazuna informs him that the blood sucking on him is just a meal for her. Only by falling in love with the vampire who sucked his blood will a human become a vampire. Nazuna blushes unexpectedly after saying this. They then go for a walk because Kou Yamori still can't sleep. Nazuna was shy because the process of transforming a human into a vampire is similar to how humans find their partner as they become intimate. When the human falls completely in love with the vampire sucking his blood, he will be transformed. Kou Yamori no longer wants to live a restricted school life after witnessing Nazuna's freedom. He aspires to be a liberated vampire like her. So he begs, "Please let me fall in love with you." It's the first time she's heard such a request. Instead of directly rejecting, she says she will only sucking blood. After that night, Kou Yamori spends every night with Nazuna, hoping to fall in love with her by spending time with her. Soon, Kou Yamori finds it difficult to see Nazuna because he lacks her contact information. Meanwhile, Kou Yamori is annoyed that Nazuna never comes to him. Nazuna explains that she was just looking for someone else to bite. Kou Yamori becomes enraged upon hearing this. Since Nazuna compared vampires sucking blood to humans' intimate behavior with partners, Kou Yamori has interpreted Nazuna's sucking blood as having affairs everywhere. Only sucking blood from someone in love with Nazuna is considered intimate behavior, she explains. She must suck blood to feed herself on a daily basis, just as humans do. Kou Yamori does not want to talk about it any longer. His plan for today is to exchange phone numbers with her. Surprisingly, in this day and age of advanced communication, Nazuna does not own a cell phone. Nazuna doesn't care and just wants to lie on Kou Yamori right now, enjoying his delicious blood. But Kou Yamori refuses her and tells her to go find someone else because he is still upset about the fact that she sucked blood from others, which means there's no difference between his blood and others because both can fill her stomach. Nazuna quickly understands his point and informs him that she is also looking for him around the city. Kou Yamori is comforted by her words. He then shows his neck, somewhat shyly. When Nazuna notices this, he bends down and sucks his delectable blood. When Kou Yamori sees Nazuna sleeping next to him, his heartbeat quickens. He realizes he is starting to look forward to seeing Nazuna every day. The next night, Kou Yamori brings Nazuna his childhood wristwatch walkie-talkie. Kou Yamori feels like he's dating his girlfriend during their test to see if the walkie-talkie works, and he wishes he could fall in love with Nazuna soon. Nazuna blushes when she hears this. She appears in front of Kou Yamori, causing him to fly up to the rooftop. She can't wait to get her hands on his blood. When Kou Yamori calls her name affectionately, Nazuna's face flushes, indicating extreme shyness. Kou Yamori walks home alone after saying goodbye to Nazuna. He looks at the other watch on his wrist and remembers something from the past. When he was 9, he bought 2 watches but had no one to wear them with. After some thought, he decided to place one watch on the mailbox of a stranger in order to communicate with the stranger. But his watch hadn't received any messages in a long time, so he went to the mailbox to see if the watch was still there. But it wasn't. He has since lost the courage to contact a stranger and has put the watch away. He hears a sound from his watch at this point, and his classmate Akira appears behind him. It turns out that the mailbox on which he was wearing the watch at the time belonged to Akira. Akira saw what he did from a distance but thought Kou Yamori gave her this watch as a symbol of friendship, so she always considered Kou Yamori to be her friend. This misunderstanding irritates Kou Yamori. He recalls being alone all the time due to his odd personality, and Akira always offered to play games with him. However, Kou Yamori eventually just greets Akira without telling her the truth. Kou Yamori then wonders why Akira is here at 4 a.m. Akira tells him that she gets up early and walks to school. Before she leaves, she expresses her desire to see Kou Yamori the following day. Kou Yamori stays with Nazuna until she falls asleep as usual the next day, but he plans to leave earlier. Nazuna teases him about having another girl to see because he leaves so early. Kou Yamori immediately denies, but Nazuna remains skeptical. Kou Yamori returns to his appointment and approaches Akira. They have a conversation on a park bench. Nazuna appears at this point. Kou Yamori panics, as if he had been caught cheating on his girlfriend. Akira is also perplexed as to what the girl has to do with Kou Yamori. According to Nazuna, there is only physical attraction between them. Kou Yamori quickly interrupts her and challenges her. Akira deduces from their intimate words that they both adore each other. Nazuna flushes again when she hears this. However, she tries to demonstrate her dislike for Kou Yamori by sucking his blood in front of Akira, revealing that she is a vampire. Then they all go to a tavern. Akira quickly accepts that Nazuna is a vampire, but she believes Nazuna leads Kou Yamori astray, so he does not attend school. Though Akira dislikes school, she sincerely invites Kou Yamori to return to school with her because she wants him to return to his way of life. Kou Yamori is at a loss for words, but Nazuna misunderstands him. She believes Kou Yamori remains silent because she is present, so she storms out of the tavern. Kou Yamori rushes to catch up with her but trips and falls. Although he has no idea why Nazuna is upset, he apologizes to her in the watch and hopes to reconcile with her. Nazuna finally appears when she notices Kou Yamori's concern for her. She claims she is not angry, but she is perplexed as to why he did not respond to Akira in a timely manner. Kou Yamori explains that he wants to become a vampire because he doesn't know how to explain it to humans. It appears to be a confession to Nazuna. When Nazuna notices Kou Yamori's bled mouth corner, she immediately kisses him, which surprises Kou Yamori because it is his first kiss. Nazuna tells him that he now has a new vampire friend and flies away. Friends will never kiss, says Kou Yamori. Kou Yamori goes out at night to find Nazuna as usual, but he happens to see a couple kissing. In an instant, he flushes. Only couples, in his opinion, can kiss. He was so nervous when he kissed Nazuna yesterday that he thought he had fallen in love with her. Nazuna finds him while his mind is wandering. Kou Yamori pulls his collar down and asks Nazuna to suck his blood. He claims he has fallen in love with her and that if Nazuna suckers his blood, he will turn into a vampire. But nothing happens after Nazuna sucks his blood. Nazuna informs him that kissing can imply lust rather than love. Kou Yamori is a little reserved. He cannot comprehend such emotions as a 14-year-old boy. The misunderstanding of falling in love with Nazuna is finally over. Kou Yamori runs into Akira again at night. This time, she leaves for school at 12 a.m. Akira appears to suffer from insomnia as well, so Kou Yamori invites her to Nazuna's house. Akira believes Kou Yamori must have done a lot of bad things with vampires since dropping out of school. But as she stays with them, she discovers that Kou Yamori does nothing but play games and talk to Nazuna. She also learns about Kou Yamori's agreement with Nazuna, in which he will let Nazuna suck his blood until the day he falls in love with Nazuna and becomes a true vampire. When Akira asked Kou Yamori what he wanted to do in the future, he always remained silent. But this time, he states unequivocally that he wishes to be a vampire. They have the last activity of the night, which is to sleep together thanks to Nazuna's invitation. Akira is nervous because this is her first time sleeping with a boy. However, when Akira sees Kou Yamori's young face, he relaxes. She considers Kou Yamori to be her best friend. Despite her support for his goal of becoming a vampire, she wishes he would return to school. Then she makes an appointment with Kou Yamori, telling him that if he wants to return to school one day, he must first inform her. Akira finally gets 4 hours of uninterrupted sleep this night. People can only sleep soundly when Nazuna is satisfied with the day, he tells Akira. Perhaps Akira feels relieved knowing that her friend, Kou Yamori, will not become depraved. Instead, he discovered his objective. Another night arrives. Nazuna spends her time alone playing video games and watching TV before Kou Yamori arrives. She is unaware that she is looking forward to spending time with Kou Yamori. She has her watch hand to the boss while taking a bath in a bathhouse. The watch rings as she is about to wash her face. She dashes out the door to find Kou Yamori right away. Knowing that Nazuna went to the bathhouse, Kou Yamori expresses his desire to take a bath as well. He flips out of the bath when he sees Nazuna and asks her to suck his blood. This time, he finds pleasure in his pain. Unfortunately, he never becomes a vampire. It appears that he is not completely in love with Nazuna, which suggests that the emotion he felt just now was caused by lust. Nazuna can tell what Kou Yamori is thinking by the taste of his blood, but she doesn't mind. The taste of the blood changes as the emotion changes. Every day, she enjoys sucking Kou Yamori's blood of various flavors. Kou Yamori is now wondering how many people Nazuna had sucked before meeting him. He doesn't want her sucking other people's blood because it implies that his girlfriend has a close relationship with someone else. Nazuna begins talking about her past when she notices Kou Yamori is jealous. She used to own a shop where she offered various services to help guests fall asleep. When discussing sleep knowledge, she offers Kou Yamori the most expensive sleep-inducing massage service. Nazuna plans to suck his blood again as the atmosphere becomes romantic, but the doorbell rings. It turns out that Nazuna forgot to take down the shop sign, so a visitor arrives. Because Nazuna has just offered a massage service, she asks Kou Yamori to do the job, promising him half of the income and a kiss in exchange. Kou Yamori refuses to admit it, but he is looking forward to the kiss, so he accepts the job. Kiyasumi, the 24-year-old guest, is a worker in a company who is frequently called to work overtime by her superior. She remembers Nazuna's massage after having it once. After a long day, she returns to this location in her mind. When she learns that Kou Yamori is only 14 years old, she assumes he is in trouble and needs to make money at such a young age. Kou Yamori explains to Kiyasumi that he works here because he wants to be free at night. Kiyasumi is unaware that Kou Yamori wishes to become a vampire. His words bring back memories of her school days. She also misses the feeling of owning the entire world and the empty street late at night. Kiyasumi then talks about herself. She despises the never-ending work and putting on a fake smile for others. Just then, Kiyasumi's boss summons her to work overtime once more. At this point, Kou Yamori sees himself in the past, living a life he never wanted. He bravely prevents Kiyasumi from going to work. Nazuna's attention is drawn to the sound. Kiyasumi is terrified when she sees Nazuna emerge from the wall. Kiyasumi is thrown out the window by Nazuna after hearing that Kou Yamori is stopping him. When Kiyasumi believes she is about to die, Kou Yamori grabs her hand and Nazuna saves the two people who are falling. Kou Yamori is heartbroken after the safe landing, revealing that Nazuna is a vampire and that he, too, wishes to be a vampire. He persuades Kiyasumi not to work extra hours and instead to spend the night with him. Kiyasumi is blown away by tonight's experience, but she still needs to live her life, so she returns to work. Perhaps this is how adults live. Kiyasumi wishes Kou Yamori could turn into a vampire soon. When Kou Yamori sees Kiyasumi leave, he threatens to turn her into a vampire if she can't stand human life one day. Kiyasumi smiles and accepts his kindness in response. After Kiyasumi departs, Kou Yamori continues to pursue Nazuna. They decide to have a date in a swimming pool one night, which is slightly more romantic than a daytime date. Kou Yamori becomes envious when he notices two strange men conversing with Nazuna. He becomes agitated and pulls Nazuna away from him. There are too many people in the pool, and he doesn't want to see other people try to make friends with Nazuna. Nazuna scratched her head before flying towards his school's swimming pool with Kou Yamori. They can enjoy the pool alone now that Kou Yamori dislikes other people. Nazuna bites his neck again, this time to feel his various emotions. Another night arrives. It pours heavily when Kou Yamori goes to find Nazuna. When he finds a shelter, he is approached by a girl who appears to be interested in Kou Yamori, constantly teasing him and grabbing his cola. He follows this girl to a remote corner as an innocent boy. The girl then transforms into a vampire. Nazuna appears and cuts off one of the girl's arms as she is jumping on Kou Yamori. The girl isn't angry and simply picks up her broken arm to replace it, claiming that Nazuna has broken vampire rules by staying with a human without turning him into her partner. In this case, she will assassinate Kou Yamori. They then start fighting. Before Kou Yamori can react, another vampire appears and takes him away. Then Kou Yamori notices various types of beauties in front of him. It turns out that these stunning ladies are all vampires. They've heard that Nazuna has recently been staying with a human without converting him into her partner. If humans learn about vampire customs, it poses a serious threat to them. As a result, these ladies launch a competition to win Kou Yamori's heart and make him their partner. When they discover that Kou Yamori is uninterested in them, they decide to murder this dull human who does not want to be a vampire. Hearing this, Kou Yamori quickly reveals that he is dying to be a vampire, which is why he desires to be in love with Nazuna. When Nazuna hears his confession, she flushes instantly. Knowing that Nazuna has no intention of ever having a partner, the beauties force Nazuna to distinguish between Kou Yamori and other humans. Nazuna said his blood tasted better, according to Kou Yamori. Then Kou Yamori tells them openly that he has wanted to become a vampire ever since he met Nazuna, and he will persevere no matter how long it takes. Others are stunned, but Kou Yamori is unaware that he has just declared that he will fall in love with Nazuna regardless. They inform Kou Yamori that this is impossible due to a time constraint. Humans have only 1 year after being sucked blood to become vampires, which astounds Kou Yamori. But Nazuna is unconcerned, rewarding Kou Yamori with a kiss for her assistance with the massage. Soon after, Kou Yamori informs Akira of the situation. Akira considers a problem. If Kou Yamori cannot become a vampire in a year, he will most likely be killed because, as a human, he already knows the characteristics of vampires, which frightens Kou Yamori. At night, Kou Yamori meets the vampire Kikayo, who previously fought Nazuna. Kikayo is curious about how things are going between Kou Yamori and Nazuna, but is surprised to learn that Kou Yamori is a junior high school student who has never been in love. She quickly develops feelings for him. Kikayo intends to teach him love skills and prepares a list of dates for him as a love master. Kou Yamori wants to fall in love with Nazuna as soon as possible after learning of the time limit so that he can become a vampire. As a result, he uses the list to ask Nazuna out on a date. Though traditional dates such as going to the movies, drinking coffee, and singing karaoke do not appeal to Nazuna, Kou Yamori's unusual actions do. She suspects that someone is teaching him these strange dating skills, so she tells Kou Yamori that she considers their everyday life to be a date, and she will be content if they spend time together as they always do. When they are separated, Kou Yamori runs into his former classmate, Seki, who was Akira and Kou Yamori's childhood playmate. Soon after, they happen to run into Akira on her way to school. They discuss their current situation. Seki has recently begun to enjoy going outside at night, much like Kou Yamori, ostensibly because he has a crush on a girl. Kou Yamori runs into Kikayo again a few days later. Kikayo notices that she is in trouble and follows her to the KTV. A boy appears on the floor outside their room, on his way to see Kikayo. Kikayo, it turns out, cheated on many men in order to increase the number of her partners. And the boy outside the room is one of Kikayo's admirers, who follows him around all the time. Kikayo tells Kou Yamori that if the boy is bothering her, she will kill him. When Kou Yamori tries to convince her, the boy appears. Kikayo rushes towards the boy, but Kou Yamori saves him in time, fleeing with this distraught boy. Kou Yamori learns from the clumsy boy Akiyama that he met Kikayo one day while drunk and they had a great time. He can't help but fall in love with her. Kikayo doesn't really like Akiyama, but he still wants to see her. Kikayo soon discovers them, and Kou Yamori appears in front of Akiyama. Kikayo, as a powerful vampire, will not be deterred by an ordinary human boy. Just as Kikayo is about to act, Nazuna appears, who is concerned about Kou Yamori being alone with Kikayo and has been secretly following him. Nazuna is perplexed as to why Kikayo wishes to murder the boy this time. Kikayo is not a murderous vampire, but she is tired of vampires approaching boys in search of new partners. She would also like to have a friend like Kou Yamori. Kikayo is exhausted because everything to do with humans appears to be linked to love. Akiyama is the only boy she can relate to. She has no choice but to kill him in order to keep their friendship pure. Kikayo begs for it. She also doesn't want to lose Akiyama, a friend who will listen to her. When he hears this, Akiyama says he doesn't want to be separated from her, so he asks her to turn him into a vampire so he can be friends with her. Because Kikayo and Akiyama don't want to lose each other, Akiyama extends his arm to complete the vampire ritual. Kou Yamori considers it unfair that Akiyama is in love with Kikayo, but Kikayo only treats Akiyama as a friend. However, as long as they are comfortable with it, the opinions of others may not matter. Following that, Kou Yamori is involved in another incident. Kohakobe, the vampire, works in a maid cafe. Recently, one of her co-workers has been absent. She wants to ask a friend to cover for her colleague, but she doesn't want other attractive girls to overshadow her. So she considers Nazuna. Nazuna accepts this job because of the money. Kou Yamori also has its first maid cafe, where guests can enjoy the kind service of the lovely maids as if they were the maids' masters. In the cafe, Kou Yamori meets another human maid. She tells him that before Kohakobe arrived, she was the most popular girl in the maid cafe. With her cute appearance and enthusiasm, Kou quickly became the most popular. Not far away, Kou notices Kou Yamori and can't help but smile. After work, Kou receives an odd email containing photos of maids that were secretly taken. She believes she was also secretly photographed, but Kou Yamori informs her that the maid in the photograph appears to be the human maid. Kou is awestruck by Kou Yamori's insight and asks him to assist him in catching the elusive photographer. Kou Yamori believes the photos were not taken secretly by others based on the angle from which they were taken. They suddenly hear someone enter. Kou Yamori and Kou rush into the dressing room closet, staying very close in the small space. Kou Yamori informs Kou that these photos appear to be selfies. They see the human maid taking selfies, as expected. Because the truth has been revealed, the human maid must confess everything. Since her arrival at the maid cafe, Kou has risen to second place in popularity. She creates a fictitious photographer to demonstrate her continued popularity. Kou informs her that it is a mental illness. It's no big deal, Kou says, just as she announces her resignation. Many people are being recognized in unusual ways, including myself, who came to the maid cafe to be admired. You're simply going in the wrong direction. In fact, humans are basically sick, and the only thing we can do is accept it. These words have an impact on the human maid, and she becomes friends with Kou. They take a selfie together after this incident. Working in the maid cafe provides Nazuna with a substantial income, which satisfies her desire to earn money. So she buys new equipment to restart her business of assisting others in falling asleep. She instructs Kou Yamori to look for guests who appear to be sleep-deprived late at night. Kou Yamori comes across a decadent woman while looking for clients. However, the woman appears to be uninterested in their services and instead wonders why Kou Yamori, a young boy, takes the initiative to speak with her. Kou Yamori is also interested in what the woman does for a living. The woman pulls out a business card at this point. Yugisu is a detective who frequently assists in the investigation of cheating and the location of missing persons. Yugisu pulls out a photograph of a man wearing glasses. When Kou Yamori sees the photo, he is surprised because the man in the photo is Akiyama, who recently became a vampire. He lies and claims he's never seen the man, but his expression catches Yugisu's eye. Yugisu then rushes away without asking him any further questions. When she's alone, Yugisu tells herself that she's gained more than she expected this time. Tonight, Kou Yamori has no guests. He goes to school with Akira and Seki after saying goodbye to Nazuna. Late at night, there is no one in the school. Just then, Seki mentions a school rumor. It is said that a teacher has been missing for 10 years, but he was recently discovered showing up late at night. They take it as a joke, but the teacher shows up with a terrible expression. Drooling, he rushes towards Akira. Seki abruptly stops the teacher while Kou Yamori remains motionless. He detects a familiar odor on this teacher. Fortunately, he quickly comes to his senses and hits the teacher with a chair, saving Akira. Kou Yamori is certain that the scent on this teacher is that of a vampire. But the teacher is dreadful and completely unlike the vampires he knows. The teacher lies on the floor, resisting the urge to suck blood. He exerts control over his body, repeatedly requesting that Kou Yamori and his friends flee as soon as possible because he is almost out of control. Yugisu appears just then. She has been investigating the disappearance of this teacher for a long time and has long suspected that the teacher in front of her is a vampire. She unexpectedly exposes her neck and lets him suck blood. The teacher says her blood isn't tasty after sucking it. It is the teacher's first time sucking blood, and he has resisted the urge for 10 years. The teacher had been unaware of the existence of vampires before becoming one. He had been tricked by a woman into becoming a vampire by accident, and it had been excruciatingly painful for him to suppress his desire to suck blood all these years. Yugisu consoles him by placing a silver ring in his hand and telling him, "I will let you die as a human." When the sun rises, sunlight shines on the teacher, and his body burns to ashes and vanishes from this world. The three students are taken aback. Yugisu informs them that as a detective taking cases to find people, she frequently becomes involved in vampire-related cases. That is why she is familiar with vampires. Just then, Kou Yamori loses control and confronts Yugisu, demanding to know why she murdered this teacher. Yugisu responds, "Vampires are monsters, and there are different types of vampires, which Kou Yamori may be unaware of." Her words strike him like a ton of bricks. Is he really knowledgeable about vampires? Kou Yamori begins to question whether becoming a vampire is the right decision for him. He tells Nazuna about his experience, and Nazuna tells him that the teacher must have exhausted his desire to suck blood. Vampires will perish if they do not consume blood for 10 years. But she is not the same as the teacher. When Kou Yamori sees Nazuna's beautiful face, he convinces himself that he was just scared of the out-of-control vampire. He apologizes to Nazuna for his emotions and offers her his blood as payment. Kou Yamori believes he can control his emotions once he understands the source of his anxiety. Seki asks Kou Yamori out alone at night. He was already aware of Kou Yamori's desire to become a vampire. But, as his friend, Seki is concerned that he will also lose control. "Why do you want to become a vampire?" Seki inquires. For a brief moment, Kou Yamori is at a loss for words. Initially, it was because he enjoys being alone at night. However, he has achieved this goal for a time. So, what is the point of him being a vampire now? He approaches Nazuna once more with this question. When Kou Yamori went out at night for the first time, he was overjoyed. But as life becomes routine for him, he loses interest in it. Nazuna does not try to persuade him. Instead, she honestly admits that vampire life is boring. They can only wait for the passage of time. Nazuna notices Kou Yamori trembling, but she doesn't ask for his response, and she doesn't suck his blood as she usually does. Instead, she licks his neck and walks away. Following that, Kou Yamori informs Yugisu that he is unsure whether he wants to become a vampire for the time being. But he is aware that Yugisu despises vampires. He doesn't want Yugisu to harm Nazuna, so he plans to figure out how Yugisu kills a vampire and use that knowledge to help Nazuna defend against her. But he fell short. Just then, he learns that Yugisu has learned about his contact with the vampire Nazuna and his desire to become a vampire. Yugisu tells Kou Yamori that if he does not become a vampire within a year, he will be killed by other vampires. But if he does, she will kill him. If he decides to become a human, she will protect him. Given her recent encounters with other vampires, Kou Yamori cannot agree with her assessment that vampires are all monsters. He flees to the park by himself, intending to speak with Nazuna. But he's afraid of exposing Nazuna to Yugisu if he goes looking for her. A female vampire appears just as Kou Yamori is in trouble. Hatsuka is the name of the female vampire. Kou Yamori is invited to her home. During their conversation, Kou Yamori learns the shocking news that the female vampire in front of him is a man, and that there are both male and female candidates for his partner. The vampire seeks out Kou Yamori to inquire about how things are going with him and Nazuna. Kou Yamori tells Hatsuka how Yugisu killed the teacher and expresses reluctance to become a vampire. Meanwhile, Hatsuka's companions send him a photo of a broken table. It turns out that Nazuna recently bargained with other vampires. She knew that based on the current situation, Kou Yamori would most likely be unable to become a vampire, so she begged other vampires not to kill him. They also shattered the table while arguing. Hatsuka deduces from the photo that Nazuna is in danger because vampires are stricter on vampires. Hatsuka then suggests that he turn Kou Yamori into a vampire. Because Kou Yamori only wants to be a vampire, it makes no difference who he partners with. His words finally make Kou Yamori realize his own thought, and he refuses without hesitation because he only wants to be Nazuna's partner. He quickly asks Hatsuka for the location in the photo and departs. Nazuna has already left when he arrives. A vampire informs him that Nazuna has paid the price for his protection. Kou Yamori is concerned after hearing this. He begins to look for Nazuna everywhere. Finally, he locates her in front of the vending machine where they first met. He sincerely confesses his love and hopes to be with Nazuna forever after ensuring that she is not injured. But he quickly realizes that it is an abrupt confession. Just as he is about to say something else, Nazuna grabs his hand and kisses him passionately, promising to stay with him forever. What Kou Yamori doesn't realize is that the cost Nazuna pays is to do everything she can to make Kou Yamori fall in love with her. That brings this anime to a close. Kou Yamori was initially dissatisfied with his life, but he gradually develops an interest in the nightlife. Finally, he has the courage to confess his love. It's truly impressive. They confess their love to each other at the end of the story, and Nazuna kisses Kou Yamori affectionately, demonstrating that love can not only make people brave, but also make people feel stronger and weaker at the same time. This was it for today. Subscribe to my channel to watch more recaps.